إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو القادر على أن يبعث عليكم عذابا من فوقكم أو من تحت أرجلكم أو يلبسكم شيعا ويذيق بعضكم بأس بعض انظر كيف نصرف الآيات لعلهم يفقهون صدق الله العلي العظيم. My brothers and sisters in Islam, you just heard a very scary verse of the Quran. That's why I had to pause in the middle or toward the end and said A'udhu billahi bi wajhil kareem. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he heard these ayat, particularly this particular section, as Imam Bukhari narrates in Kitab al-Tafsir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentioned the ways in which he can destroy nations or people and towns, and when he mentions this, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, A'udhu biwajhika al-kareem, I ask your protection. From thy glorious self, I ask for your protection. And the last one, when he heard, he said, this might be relatively lighter than the first two. So what are these three different adab? Those of you who know Arabic might have understood, but it needs more than just knowledge of Arabic language. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that He is qadir, He is capable very much to destroy or to bring a torment, punishment upon people from above. You know how punishments from above come. Like Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, his home was destroyed, the adab came from top, and somehow it became from beneath also, because when the rains came, they turned into flood and it took them. But min fawqikum usually is from whatever is coming from the skies. It could be a hailstorm, it could be rains, could be hurricanes, could be tornadoes, whatever is coming from or thunders and lightnings from the top. Or stones of fire, as it came on people of Lut alayhi salam, people of Sodom and Gomorrah. As people of Bible also know, that people who practice sodomy and homosexuality, how God's wrath came upon them. Allahu Akbar. May Allah save us from that. And then from beneath, earthquakes, landsliding, opening up. And people do see a little bit of that here and there, a big hole opened with whatever phenomena you can just describe it, but it happens by qudra of Allah. Allah says, I am qadir, it's my reach, that I can do this. And the third was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Prophet said, this might be a little light, that you could, another form of adab, that you could fall in firaq, in disputes. أَوْ يَلْبِسَكُمْ شِيَعًا. Imam Bukhari says in his tafsir of this verse that it means firaq, division of sects, groupings, political or religious, whatever they may be. After that, my brothers and sisters, Imam Ibn Kathir mentions in his famous tafsir, you all, mashallah, know about it, I hope at least, and many of you might carry this tafsir with you in their homes. He mentions that Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas narrates, and actually Imam Ibn Kathir has brought several reports in the tafsir of this ayah. This is verse 65 of Surah Al-An'am. He says that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after this came, he went to a masjid of Bani Muawiyah, which is like a village of Ansar, companions of Medina, radiallahu anhum ajma'in. He went there and he made a take this right now. He, inshallah, he made a long dua there. First he made a long salah, very long prayer, with long ruku', long qiyam, very long ruku', and very long sujood. And they asked him, "Oh Rasulullah, you have never prayed like this. What was this long prayer about?" So Prophet Muhammad said that actually this was a prayer in which I asked, I was afraid and I also was hopeful, and I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala three things. Raghba wa rahmah. Dealing with both of those. Something, and raja wal khawf. Different words in different ahadith that Imam Ibn Kathir brought. So I'm quickly summarizing this for you. And what Imam Ibn Kathir mentioned, actually, these are the riwayat that are found in many other books of hadith as well. It's not just Ibn Kathir bringing it for us. It's in Sahih Muslim also. In Kitab al-Fitan, Bab, Halaku hadhihi al-Ummah ba'duhum bi-ba'd. Allah, very scary. 2890 of Muslim. He said, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a long dua, three things. Two, Allah granted me, and third, He did not allow me to continue. That's how scholars say, because the prayer, invocation of a prophet is answered. So Allah did not let him ask this. He did not allow him, did not grant him. Why? Scholars say because this is something that people bring it upon themselves. How could Allah stop you from doing this? If Allah stopped you from doing that, where is your free will? Where will your free will go? You have to exercise your free will, and this free will determine where you will fall. Paradise or hell. This is something that you and I, humans, we bring it upon ourselves. Subhanallah. So number one was that he said, "Oh Allah, don't let my ummah drown like people of Pharaoh, all were drowned. All wiped out by adab." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted it. Second was, he said, "Oh Allah, do not destroy my ummah or wipe them out by appointing tyrants upon them." So this is a good news for you actually. Because many of you, unfortunately, us, I would say Muslims, are suffering with this disease that has been inflicted upon this ummah of dictators and tyrants. Families disappear, towns get destroyed, and you know what's happening to our brothers and sisters all around the ummah. It doesn't need an explanation. But alhamdulillah, good news is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let all ummah be taken away by any dictator, whether he's a Muslim dictator or a non-Muslim dictator. May Allah save us from that, inshallah. Third is what was not granted, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him not to ask, is about disputes, sects, groupings. And my brothers and sisters, today I'm going to briefly touch, really touching the surface, but showing you very key arguments of this qissa that is related to the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Imam Shahrastani in the Al-Milal wal-Nahal, which is very, very old book of Islam, one of the old classicals, he said this is the first dispute that Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Tabaqat ibn Sa'ad, and many kutub of Siyar, lives of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they all have mentioned it. This is that incident where some people try to run away from it, try to avoid it, but this is the one that becomes the root of conflict a lot of time between Muslims, and this is the first conflict that Muslims saw. First one. So my brothers and sisters, this is not something fancy, this is not something that I enjoy talking about. In fact, this is a bitter story that I would have rather avoided it, but then we have a problem here. You have non-Muslims who are, who are professors, scholars, and you have brothers who are on Facebook and all that, and they receive these things. And they come and ask, like, what is this about? If I skip it, then there is something wrong with it. No, there's nothing wrong with it. This is something that is authentic. We should not be among those people who say, oh, no, this doesn't happen, close our eyes. What can you do? You have to accept the reality. So, for example, speaking of Imam Bukhari brought this qissa in 7 different places. 7 places Imam Bukhari alone brings it. Imagine about Muslim and Imam Ahmad and books of hadith and seer, how many places it has come. 7 places, just Imam Bukhari. Mathalan, number 1, very beginning. Unfortunately, Muslims don't even know when I mentioned the names of books. People think these are some separate books somewhere else. Books of hadith have further books. Kitab al-Iman, Kitab al-Wahi, Kitab al-Ilm, Kitab al-Jihad, Kitab al-this. They're books. Unfortunately, Muslims don't know that, which is very sad because the level of ignorance has gone way past the limits. La ilaha illallah. Bukhari has 77 books. Book number 3, his very beginning, Kitab al-Ilm, Kitab al-Jihad wa Siyar, Kitab al-Jizya, Kitab al-Maghazi, twice, Kitab al-Marda, Kitab al-I'tisam bis-Sunnah, which is second last book of Bukhari. So many places in Bukhari this has come, and Qissa is a very bitter story, my brothers and sisters. And with the narrator, when he's narrating it, Abdullah ibn Abbas, you have heard a lot about him. MashaAllah, Muslims love him as one of the scholars of Islam. Jibreel came to tell us that he's the most scholar of this ummah. Right? This Abdullah ibn Abbas, when he starts this qissa, and Imam Muslim brings it in Kitab al-Wasiyah, that when he mentions it, he starts to cry. He says, Yawmul Khamis. Remember, I left you last week that we are in that Thursday, around Thursday events. Remember, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ died on Monday. This is Thursday. Just 4 days. يوم الخميس. وما يوم الخميس؟ اشتد برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وجعه فقال ائتوني أكتب لكم كتابا لن تضلوا بعده أبدا فتنازعوا. Ibn Abbas says, Thursday, what about Thursday? What should I tell you about Thursday? This is the day when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's illness got very severe, and he told people who were around him at that time among the Sahaba, he said, bring me something that I will write for you, or as they say, I will have it written for you. It's the same thing. Prophet is dictating or we're having it written, it's the same thing. So let's not play with the words. He says, I will get it written for you, after which you will not be misguided. He said, but they fell in dispute. Difference. See how Muslims sometimes say, ikhtilaf is rahmah. Ikhtilaf is rahmah. No, ikhtilaf is not rahmah. Falling for disputes and quarrels is not mercy. It's a problem, my brothers. This is Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا. وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا. Don't fall for disputes. And what happened? They fell in a tanaza'. Human beings, it can happen. The situation is very intense. People are emotionally worked up. Now this is called in Islamic history and in books of Seerah and Hadith called Qissa, Qalam Qirtaas, pen and paper. The story of pen and paper. Allahu Akbar. And Ibn Abbas, when he said that they fell in tanaza'a, and he said, وَلَا يَنْبَغِي عِنْدَ نَبِي تَنَازَعَ. They should not have done that. Should not have fallen in dispute before a prophet of God. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And that is last prophet of Allah. And he starts to cry again. And Imam Muslim brings the words that, I believe Sa'id ibn Jubayr or one of the tabi'een said that, Wallahi, when I saw Ibn Abbas crying, I could see tears flowing like pearls from his eyes. Like pearls. And the pebbles around on the earth were wet with his tears. This is how much he cried so profusely when he was telling this story. Because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, they started to say all kinds of things. Some said, and these are the words of Bukhari here. Some said, no, he's in a lot of pain right now. He's not all together. Astaghfirullah. Some of them said, he's this, he's that. Some said, no, let us listen to him. Some of them said, went back to Rasulullah. Okay, tell us, what is it? Prophet Muhammad Da'uni, leave me alone, and get out of here. He kicked everybody out of his presence. I don't want you around me. What I'm busy in right now is something better. He was busy with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he let them go. Another report, next report. These are words of Bukhari. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, his name comes up, and mashallah, those who hate Umar, this is like a stick for them. They beat Muslims with, this is what Umar is saying. A'udhu billah. So that's why we have to know how to answer this or how to understand this the right way. So he said, people, عندكم القرآن حسبنا كتاب الله. You have Quran, book of Allah is enough. And mashallah, this statement, people who don't want hadith, that's a stick for them. People who hate Umar, that's a stick for them. They say, look, Umar is saying Quran is enough for us. Why do you need Sunnah? Why do you need hadith? Subhanallah. This is being documented in a book of hadith. So their argument is very ignorant and stupid argument, those who say we don't need Sunnah. Where is this documented? Is it in the Quran? No, it's in the hadith. So the whole argument, that's a useless argument. So let's worry about the other one. Okay, he was simply talking about something that maybe he misunderstood. So we'll talk about that later. People disagreed there, and there was, Ibn Abbas says, there was a lot of lagh and ikhtilaf, meaning noise and disputes there. Ibn Abbas cried again and again here, and he said, Wallahi, there was no bigger calamity than this on this ummah, that we should have had listened to him that day, and we felt like we hurt him. And when you hurt your loved one, you feel sad. Think about your father. Any one of you who have lost their fathers or mothers, think about that day when you hurt your father or you hurt your mother. They love you and you love them. That's not the issue here. But wouldn't you cry when you think about that day? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is he equal to our fathers or mothers, or above father and mother? He's definitely above. So that's why there's a lot of emotions going around here. Now, what do ulama do here? And I'm going to mention both groups of this ummah that you all know. They're divided 80% around is Sunni, and about 15 to 20% is Shia. Sahib Kitab al-Faruq, Shibli Nu'mani, rahmatullah alayhi, he's from our lands, so I'm going to, sorry for the bias, I'm mentioning his name first. He wrote this book that has been translated in many, many languages. It's available in Arabic, Urdu, and English, many other languages it's being translated. One of the best books about Al-Faruq, Umar radiallahu anhu. He took a very strange route. He said, you know, for me, the best thing is that I'm going to deny all these reports. I'm going to say as if it never happened. As if it never happened. So he went that route. Sahib Tafhim al-Quran, Imam al-Mawdudi rahimahullah, in his book called Rasail wa Masail, volume number 3, about 4 pages he has dedicated on this. He said, it's not a big deal, guys. It was something very small. Imam Hanbal said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to talk about salat, zakah, and taking care of the slave, that be nice with the slaves. You know, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not in favor of this slavery that West practiced until now. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam abolished slavery long time ago, this type of slavery. The type of slavery that existed in the West until recent, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet of God, abolished that slavery long time ago. That don't tie them with chains, no shackles for them, keep them in your homes, clothe them as you clothe yourself, feed them as you feed yourself, even give them your names. So Muslims would not recognize who's slave and who's not slave. So yes, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized those things, but not on that day. Not on that day. And he mentions a report from Ali radiallahu anhu there, which is originally in Musnad Hanbal, but this riwayah is makduba. It's actually been denied. Because there's no other mentioning of this report elsewhere, and also the Ravi, his name is Nu'aym ibn Yazid. Nu'aym ibn Yazid is an unexisting person. So when in the hadith, for people's knowledge, when in the book of hadith there is something comes that is majhul, you don't have somebody there, there's a big problem here. We don't know who said, where said, and what said. Subhanallah. So it doesn't work. Now, I'll give you another example from the other group, Shia. They have a person called Sulaym ibn Qais al-Hilali. This is a very famous person who wrote a book, and if I take the liberty of saying here that if a book destroyed the madhab of Shia, it is this book. This is where all the lies have come up. And when they read those things, oh my God, and then they say, A'udhu billah, la'na and fulan and fulan and fulan, things go very bad. Sulaym ibn Qais al-Hilali said, actually, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to say certain names, and he gave the names of 12 Imams. Sulaym says, okay, why am I saying that this book destroyed the madhab of Shia also? It's a very bad reference for themselves, because Shia ulama also say that Sulaym ibn Qais al-Hilali is not a reliable person. It's one of the old books. And the person who narrates from Sulaym, Rabi, you know we're talking about narrators, who said, what said, and when said. Aban. Aban is actually according to the ulama of Shia. And if someone needs a reference, come and I will give you the reference, inshallah, if there is anyone who wants to learn, because there might be some Shia brothers sitting here. I'll educate you, inshallah, on that. Aban, this narrator, is called a Dajjal, a big impostor, a big liar by the ulama, the scholars of Shia. I'm not talking about Sunnah. So no mentioning of 12 Imams in any authentic report according to Shia. Taken, wishy-washy routes, and yet, well, we have a group of scholars in this Ummah who were very brave in this matter. They took the liberty of taking the right stance, right position, and I'm going to rely on them. I'm not going to give my opinions. Because all of these scholars say one thing. They said Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was not talking about salah, zakat, hajj. A lot has been done and said about it. What Prophet was talking about here was actually the issue of who shall take care of the affairs of the Muslims after Prophet's death. This is such a critical matter that everybody was thinking about it. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wanted to address this. And why they say so, I'll give you the evidence. Imam Ibn Kathir, number one. I mentioned his tafsir also. In Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, very famous book, the beginning and the end. Very famous book, about 9 volumes or so. In volume number 5, page 162, he says this qissa, this issue of paper and pen exposes actually very clearly a problem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pointed out in Surah Al-Imran. What is the problem that Allah pointed out in Surah Al-Imran? That فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. Those who have zayg, crookedness in their hearts, their iman have issues, they are not sure, they always run after things that have ambiguities. They have ambiguities. But on the other hand, الراسخون في العلم, they go after things that are clear. That are clear, and they believe in everything. They say whatever is there, we believe in it, alhamdulillah. How so? He gives example. He says now, those who have zayg, who want to make fitna between Muslims, they will take just this one example and they will say, oh look, Prophet would have said this, Prophet would have said that, Prophet would have said Ali is leader after me, Hassan is leader after me, Hussein is leader after me. All of them rely on their dhann, their suspicion, their guess. Like I gave you example of Sulaim's book. It's all guess. The book is not reliable by itself. Right? Now, he says, on the other hand, الراسخون في العلم, when they see that so many other reports are actually talking about the issue of khilafah, and they are mentioning not somebody who the others are thinking, they're actually talking about Abu Bakr, sorry. They're talking about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And actually in the same Sahih al-Bukhari. So when someone comes to me, brings that report, I said, brother, you're bringing this report from Bukhari, let's read a page further. Let's read a page further. What did Prophet Muhammad say? Because we're talking about death of Prophet Muhammad. Right there, Aisha radiallahu anha was comforting Prophet Muhammad in this matter, that, oh Rasulullah, don't worry, because Prophet said, look, I know some people might argue over the leadership of Abu Bakr. Call your father. Who's his father? Her father, Abu Bakr. Call your father and let me write something for him. This is the riwayah that actually many ulama don't rely upon. SubhanAllah, this is in Bukhari and Muslim both. Both places is there. Our Sunni ulama also are from one report, oh, no, this is not true, just deny it. 7 places in Bukhari. How can you run away from this? Don't run away, read further. Read what's written further. Aisha said, oh Rasulullah, do you think anybody will choose anyone other than Abu Bakr? All Ummah is praying behind him in the masjid. All Muslims of Medina are praying behind who? Abu Bakr. Don't worry about it. This is not the words of Aisha. This is the word of commentators. That Muslims are praying behind him. So basically she said, oh Rasulullah, no one will be chosen other than him. So Ibn Kathir says that when this amr has become wadih, those who are rasikhun al-ilm, they will not follow their whims and desires and, oh, it could have been this, it could have been that. They know that Rasulullah is actually talking about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, like you heard in the last khutbah also. His murad is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu here, and Jamhur of the Ummah showed that, the majority. I'm not saying everybody. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, in Minhaj al-Sunnat al-Nabawiyyah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm not going to talk about the introduction of this book, he also took a very liberal and brave stance here. He said, Bukhari and Muslim make it very, very clear, just Bukhari and Muslim alone, 2 of these, that Rasulullah's talk was about Abu Bakr. Whereas, where does Umar stand here, who said, we don't want something written here? He said, only Allah knows what was going through Umar's mind. He must have misunderstood the situation. Because he said, Umar is not a prophet. Umar is not a prophet. Ibn Taymiyyah was not like those scholars who will say, no, Umar was right and Prophet was wrong. Astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah min dhalik. Nabi of Allah is guided by Allah at all times. Whether poison has been given to him or magic has been given to him, nothing is going to stop the work of prophethood, my brothers and sisters. And Imam Ibn Hazm, rahimahullah, is another Zahiri Imam, very strong person in Sunnah. So he said, in Al-Ahkam, fi Usul Al-Ahkam, he said, people, don't you remember in Hudaybiyah, Umar radiallahu anhu was telling Prophet to fight, not do the peace agreement. And Prophet made the peace agreement. Prophet went for peace. Quran says, who is right? Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. We all know that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, his judgment was incorrect. Simple. He's a human being. He's not a prophet of Allah. End of the story. Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah left us, and this is the conclusion of our talk, inshallah, today. Very important, and Imam al-Shatibi, both of them, I'll just combine, inshallah. He said, brothers, oh Muslims, remember this. Whenever Muslims had a disagreement or made a dispute with a prophet of Allah, Ummah benefited, Ummah was deprived of some kind of mercy. And he gave a beautiful example. You know, Ramadan is coming. What happened for Laylatul Qadr? One day Prophet came and they were chit-chatting and arguing. No, it's then. No, it's this day. No, it's that day. Prophet ﷺ came, he said, Wallahi, I came to tell you what exactly is that night, where it is, you know, it revolves or whatever it is. Allah took it away from me. Keep fighting, I'm leaving. I don't want to tell you. Because of fight. You lose something. Ikhtilaf is not rahmah. Ikhtilaf takes away rahmah, my brothers and sisters. That hadith is a lie. Ikhtilaf ummati rahmah. So let's make another group, another group, another group, another. No, ikhtilaf is bad. Another example, Imam Shatibi also gave. He said, Muslims, know this. Don't you know the story of Musa? You read Surah Kahf every day. Sahih Bukhari, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, may Allah have mercy on impatient Musa. If he was little patient and if he did not argue, if he did not argue with Al-Khidr alayhi salam, we would have known a lot of other things. So whenever there is ikhtilaf, you lose something. You're not at win-win. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Inshallah, my brothers and sisters, I will continue further on this subject. If anybody needs to discuss with me details, you know, this is, I'm just touching the surface. Inshallah, I have literature and material I could refer you to. Please refrain backbiting, you know, talking to those who have nothing, no knowledge about this. Allah says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know. فَاسْأَلْ مَنْ كَانَ بِهِ خَبِيرًا. Don't become your homegrown, you know, like Yusuf Esther says, couch potatoes. Please don't do that. If you need to know something, know it from the right source. Open the Kitab and Sunnah yourself or ask someone who knows. Don't play your whims and wishes. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's how fitna starts. That's how fitna starts. Issue right now is our project that I want to talk a little bit about. My brothers and sisters, first of all, I want to congratulate you all. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, we've almost 99.9%, we've made it to the goal of. So may Allah be guardian of all of us in this matter, and may He keep us united. Please, my brothers and sisters, remember this. Anything that divides Muslims is very bad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that. Save us from ikhtilafat. May we stay united as one ummah, inshallah, and let us continue contributing, inshallah, more and more. I feel actually for your own good. We all are benefiting from this. This is sadaqah jariyah, inshallah. Yeah, you will, God knows for how many centuries and generations you will get its reward. It's like planting a tree and someone will eat the fruit from this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, accept everybody's effort to unite this ummah, resolve our disputes and conflicts, make dua that may Allah make everything easy for us, and together we accomplish these goals, inshallah. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم.